Hey, what's up, all you amphibians out there? I'm Duuz-Diz-Din, coming at you again with another Amphibia episode review. Let's begin, shall we, with episode 9, Swamp and Sensibility. It's going to be some hoity-toity royal stuff up in here, as we open up with Anne crying over one of her favorite sappy movies about being yourself and people will accept you and blah blah blah. However, as Hopadiah is getting Betsy up a hill, the rains snap, meaning he has to get some new ones. Unfortunately, that involves them traveling to a particular town that is known for its hoity-toityness and its vast amount of expenses. So, once they arrive, it is totally blinged out. It seems the closer they get to Newtopia, the swankier the areas actually get. And this place is no different. However, once they arrive in the town, they find none other than One-Eyed Wally from back in Wartwood. What is Wally doing here? Oh, we come to find out that he is in fact an heir to this uh string toe cleaner fortune. Yeah, rich people bullshit. Basically, he got something that's really fancy and is known for its fanciness, and honestly, people don't realize that they don't really need crap like this. But they can. And so, with Wally basically saying that Anne and the planters are his servants, his dad agrees to help get their carriage up to snuff and invites all of them back to the family mansion. And man, I didn't think architecture like this would actually exist in Amphibia. Really, this just goes to show how far out in the sticks the planters are, as even their smallest room is basically big enough to fit the entire planter home in. And while Anne wants to know what's the deal with One-Eyed Wally pretending to be a common ruffian, well, not a ruffian, a vagabond, it's because, well, he just likes that simpler life. He just likes going around, fooling around, and just having a good old time. But that is not the way of his family and the way of his people. It's all about the hoity-toityness. And he doesn't dig with that, which and kind of takes it's just like, oh, he's just like one of my Japanese anime. I mean, one of my 90s movies, 90s and 80s movies did that a lot. Just be yourself, don't, yeah, freaking High School Musical. But then again, this is Disney, so par for the course. And the planters get lost in the mansion. We also get to see, that Wally has a lot of things he cherishes in his family home, and he doesn't want to give any of that up. Yes, he enjoys the life of a vagabond, but he still wants to be able to just come home and chill and be with all the things he grew up with, which I can't blame him for any of that. But while Anne concocts a plan to get Wally's plight out there and show it to his dad, Spring is just like, yeah, you probably shouldn't go meddling around in other people's affairs, which Anne does just that. So at a fancy dinner party, Anne decides to, and for some reason she has all of this, show off video footage of one-eyed Wally just being a weirdo. And it's just like, how do you have footage of all of this? When were you making this footage? When did all of this happen? And it goes about as well as you would expect, with his father basically disowning Wally. But Wally decides to stand up to his father, and just like Sprig did to Hopadiah back in season 1, challenges him to a family duel for control over his own destiny, basically. Should Wally win, he'll be able to go back to being a vagabond. And should Wally's dad win, that means that he has to be the heir to the Tofloss fortune. And Wally's not feeling too great because it involves a battle of polo, and his dad is the tops, and he basically feels that Anne doomed him to a life of never being able to go back to Wartwood ever again. We also get this nice cameo by Kermit the Frog, who is named Crumpet in this, and it's just fun. Kermit's just fun. It's silly, and Kermit has had this weird connection to Amphibia. Like they've really just been pulling Kermit out every chance they get to just be involved with Amphibia because of the frog connection, and I am all for it at every turn. And so, because Wally is competing not as a member of his family, he's not able to use the steed he so loves. With Anne stepping up, saying that she'll be his steed because she's seen as nothing more than an animal to most of the frogs anyway. And so they head off, and after a grueling match where they end up neck and neck, ultimately Wally is able to pull out a win. Overjoyed that that means that he gets to still go to Wartwood and be a vagabond. But he also tells his dad that he does still want to be a part of the family. He doesn't want to give any of that up. He just wants to be able to be himself, with it, which his dad accepts, ultimately showing that he enjoys a bit of chicanery here and there. I think I'm using that word right. And he actually likes to play the jug. And they have a little bit of a musical family bonding moment. And it's just sweet, it's cute, it's wholesome before some stuff happens. Next, we have episode 10, the episode that everyone was waiting for and very anticipated. Episode 10, The Wax Museum. And let's begin. As the planters and Anne arrive in Stony Gulch, a town that welcomes all travelers. However, they don't really have much money to spend in this tourist trap for the most part. But this ends up being alleviated as Anne, taking off her hood, which she never wore up until this point, decides to take off her hood, and she is spotted by the frogs, and she's seen as, remember back in season 1 during the earlier episodes where was so hard for her to be recognized as a person by the people of Wartwood, especially Wally. It's good to have seen Wally and Anne's relationship grow so much to the point where she basically forgot that she was kind of seen as a freak by these people. But doing some tricks, basically, she's actually able to get some cash, a whole bucket load, in fact. And so they decide to just spend Anne's gotten gain at none other than the Curiosity Hut. A very mysterious shack right in the dead center of the city, where it's filled with these wax-like oddities of various different monsters, with a very interesting rug depicting a triangle-shaped being. With the planters being kind of freaked out and Anne just rolling with it. And they end up meeting none other than the curator, voiced by Alex Hirsch, creator of Gravity Falls. And he introduces himself to the people with his House of Oddities, with Polly noticing that one of the wax creatures seems to be looking at her. And so the planners decide to skedaddle, while Anne actually ends up finding something interesting. A skip man, a disc player. Anyone who remembers what a disc is, you old. I'm old. We old. Because, oh man, do you remember discs? Do you remember CD players, laser discs? No, not laser disc. Well, it uses lasers in order to read discs, but man, just back in the day, we're slowly going all digital. It'll only be a matter of time before we have an entire generation who doesn't actually remember physical media anymore. But, Anne displays herself as a human in order to trade her being in the wax museum for one night, basically, in order to get the Skipman, which the curator agrees to. However, something sinister is afoot. Also, Frog Zeus. Friggin' Frog Zeus. Also voiced by Alex Hirsch. It's just Zeus, but a frog. A poisonous frog at that. And he licks himself. Haha, drug jokes. As Anne talks things over with the planters who don't feel that it's in her best interest to actually go with the curator as he's kind of a weirdo. But Anne ultimately ends up sneaking out at night and meets up with the curator who wants her to stand on this X on stage. Of course, it's a trap, with even the curator being like, dude, I thought it was obvious. And Anne's just like, yeah, no, no, it all tracks. So it's just, like, I love their candid nature about the situation, but Anne just really wanted some answers and got a little ahead of herself. But the planters learn that Anne has left and go sneaking into the House of Oddities. And Anne, is having a bit of a discussion with the curator, who reveals that the skip man he actually got from Newtopia, because apparently they have all kinds of human artifacts there. But when the planters try to get Anne out of her waxy fate, the curator goes on the attack. Meanwhile, Polly is still entranced by the wax creature she saw before and decides to melt it, only to free the creature then therein, with the rest of the planters freeing all the other monsters who immediately want revenge on the curator, bringing him to a grisly death. Maybe? Maybe. Might be dead. Might not. Clown Pictures don't seem to have much confidence in his fate. But Anne is able to be saved, and they manage to melt all the wax off of her, with her apologizing for everything that happened, with Sprig having managed to get the skip man from the curator before everything went down, with Hopadiah suggesting that maybe not reveal that she's human to anyone else as they get closer to Newtopia, just in case. Something that Anne agrees to, as she's just happy that there are actual clues that she might be on the right track to getting home, thus ending our episodes. What a great episode. I loved just seeing the camaraderie between Anne and the planters, and just how this interacted with a little bit of a Gravity Falls crossover, but at the same time it had real plot relevance. But it was just fun to have Stan Pines in something again. Alex Hirsch just really nails it when he's around. And honestly, I wish he would write for this series as well, because his writing and his improvisational skills, me speak good, it's always just fun to have him in any kind of series. That's honestly what makes the Owl House so fun. It's just his presence there as king. It's just something about Alex Hirsch just makes shows so much more fun. But tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you think about the friendship that has just continued to grow between Anne and One-Eyed Wally? What did you think about the crossover with Gravity Falls? And were you happy that it actually had some relevance and wasn't just a skippable one-off? And what did you think about the curator and his House of Oddities? It's fun to actually see Stan Pines portrayed as the quote-unquote villain that he used to be seen as back in season 1 of Gravity Falls. Just an all-around fun time. But comment, like, subscribe, bell, whatever you feel. And until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.